Before we dive into history, let's start with the national anthem. And if you don't want to watch the national anthem, you can just fast forward to a later point in the video if you want. By the start of World War I, Germany was a major imperial nation with overseas colonies and considerable wealth and military strength. The First World War initially went pretty well for Germany, but since they were surrounded by enemy nations on both their eastern and western border, they ended up on the losing side of the war. In 1919, the Treaty of Versailles was put into effect, and this document contained information that would cause some of the biggest German losses in modern history. This was precisely why many Germans were upset about the treaty, and why they initially supported the crazy mustache man. No, I'm not talking about Joseph Stalin. I'm talking about Adolf Hitler. Although Stalin did have a bigger mustache than Hitler. Anyway, when a crazy mustache man started to promise his fellow Germans that he would make their country one to be proud of and would attempt to prove to the rest of the world that Germany was superior to everyone else, most Germans generally supported the idea. Why? Well, it simply comes down to the fact that the people of Germany were sick of everyone calling them losers and not taking them seriously on anything. Hitler thought that in order to prove Germany's potential, he needed to cause some rivalry and win a few wars. He probably didn't expect it to be as big of a rivalry as it turned out to be, though. Hitler started with invading Poland and winning, and he justified it by saying that the German people needed more of something he called Lebensraum, which translates to living space for the German people. The beginning of the Second World War went really well for Germany, so well that at one point they controlled almost the entirety of continental Europe. He really shot himself in the foot, though, when he invaded the Soviet Union, because eventually winter hit and allowed the Soviets to completely annihilate Germany, and with the help of America and the United Kingdom, forced the Germans to surrender. By the time Berlin was being overrun by the Soviets, Hitler didn't make a bad mistake and shoot himself in the foot, but instead shot himself in the head. But, literally this time. A few years later, the representatives of the American, British, and French occupied zones in Germany agreed to unite into a new German state, and the Soviet zone turned into a different German state. This meant that now there were two Germanys, which is really kind of confusing. In 1961, a very famous wall was constructed along the border between the two Germanys in Berlin, and then it was knocked down in 1989. Why was it knocked down? It's all because of communism. After the wall was torn down, the people of the eastern section of Germany decided it might be a good idea to join the Westerners, and so they did. Finally, in 1999, just before the next millennium arrived, Germany permanently disposed of its old currency in exchange for a brand new one called the euro. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please consider subscribing and sharing our videos with others who may enjoy them as well. I have recently started naming random cities, towns, or villages at the end of each video, so today's place is Winton, Queensland, Australia.